Okay. I'm Kat Swetel.
And I'm Mike Caponero.
We work for a company called Praxis Flow. It's a boutique consultancy. I don't know. That's really it. So this is the session that you are in right now, UX and A3 thinking. If you were headed somewhere else, just like the flight attendants say, this is your last chance to GTFO. The door's right there. It's not really your last chance if you end up hating this, or it's just really warm in here, or you feel like a sardine in a little tiny can. Again, you're not going to hurt my feelings. Maybe Mike's, I don't know. All right, shall we begin? Cool. Okay. Oh yeah, it's cut off at the top.
This is our agenda. That's what it would say at the top.
So we're going to start out with an empathy map, which is something that I would guess a lot of people in the room have done. Who's done an empathy map before? Well, not that many people. Okay. So we're going to start out by understanding what's an empathy map, how do we actually create one with our team, right? And then we're going to use that empathy map, so we're going to put ourselves in the shoes of our customer, think about what our customer wants and needs and how they feel about things in their environment, and then we are going to use that empathy map to inform an A3. Is anyone familiar with the A3 thinking process?
How many hands?
People?
1, 2?
2 people. Great, this is brand new for everyone. So,
You're not going to get enough information about it today because we're going to keep rolling, but hopefully you guys look it up and
we'll get you started.
get a taste of it.
So A3 is a sheet of paper, correct? We don't have that size in the States, but anyway, so A3 thinking is when you work your way through a problem or an experiment using this process, right? So it provides you discipline to explore a problem, but it's not a rigid tool, so you can adapt it for whatever your needs are, the needs of your market, whatever the case may be. And we are going to talk a little bit about experimentation. So what's a good experiment? Like Rebecca was saying in her keynote this morning, there are certain attributes of a good experiment. Okay, so the way this is going to work, like the actual format that we're going to use for each of the things that we ask you to think about and ask you to do on this sheet of paper, we are going to ask you as a group, your little
like a couple
pod, your clump, right,
article, yeah.
to diverge. We want a breadth of ideas, and then we're going to converge. So we're going to see if any trends emerge or anything like that, and then we're going to use those trends again to inform the A3 process. So we are going to do, at the beginning of each exercise, silent brainstorming. And I emphasize silent, right? No groupthink. We want a breadth of ideas. There are no stupid ideas. You can throw them out later, right? Not putting your names on any of these sticky notes. No one will know. Throw them out. Then we're going to affinity map. So like I said, we'll group things together based on whatever they have in common, right? Natural groups will emerge. And since we have such a short amount of time today, Mike and I do these workshops and it takes almost the whole day, right? Like 4 hours, 6 hours. So we have 45 minutes, so we are going to time box all the things. And Mike, who is much, much louder than I am, will yell at you aggressively when the time box is over. If anyone hasn't used a sticky note before, has everyone here used a sticky note? No. So the idea of using sticky notes for this type of collaboration, just a few words on the sticky note. Please don't write like a long monologue that you're going to read off later. Use something that you can see, so don't use a yellow pencil. Great. 1 idea per sticky note. Again, because we're going to affinity map, so we want to be able to move individual ideas over close to other ideas that they share something in common with. It helps Sometimes if you write in all caps, I write like a doctor, and so I definitely have to write in all caps or no one can read what I wrote. And like Darcy said earlier, you peel from left to right or right to left, depending on what your dominant hand is, I guess. Just because if we hold these up later or anything like that, the sticky notes, if you peel them from the bottom to the top, they all just fall off. And there's so many of you in here, it would be like a confetti raining down. Okay, so that's that. So the example that we are going to use is Pokemon Go. Has anyone heard of Pokemon Go?
Yay.
Great. And I did set a lure at the Pokestop that's like right by this room. So I won't be offended at all if you need to take a break to catch some Pokemon. And I expensed it back to practice flow. Okay, so little background on Pokemon Go. I don't know if everyone has the same level of awareness. So these are just a couple quotes. You can read them for yourself, but the top one I really like. Pokemon Go is the most horribly designed app I've ever been obsessed with. And that's exactly how I feel about Pokemon Go, and that's why we chose it as an example, right? People have strong feelings, they love it or they hate it. They say they play it every day or they're never going to play it and you can't make them, so that's why we chose this example. Does everyone feel comfortable that they know what Pokemon Go is now? It's an app, you catch Pokemon. Yes, that is it. So a little more background. We're going to use some different terms during this, and you can feel free to disagree with me. I'm not a designer. I just want to make sure that everyone for the next 45 minutes shares the same definition of these terms that I do, because I have a decorative microphone and you do not. So customer experience is going to be the sum of all the interactions the customer has with an organization or brand. So you can have an interaction with Pokemon Go and not be a Pokemon Go player, right? You've never bought anything from the Pokemon Go app. You don't buy your own lures. So we're going to say that that's customer experience, and then user experience would be someone who's interacting with that particular product or service. So UX would be like a smaller set, the way we are going to use it in that same environment of Pokemon Go. And the reason that we're saying customer experience rather than user experience is because we are going to talk about examples of people who are not playing Pokemon Go. They are not using the app. So, on to customers. Who is the customer who's experiencing the things? That's how we're going to define customer here, right? And we are going to ask you to put yourself in the shoes of that customer. These are the customers that we're going to use for the purpose of this example. I guess you could come up with a different one, but we don't have that much time. So if you have like some burning desire to explore a Pokemon Go problem and you came here with that in mind, you can suggest that to your group. But otherwise, we'll use these. Sorry, I'm in your way. Okay, so there's property owners. The quote here is an example from a guy who lives in what used to be a church when the original Pokemon Go maps were created, because it uses the Ingress maps. I don't know if anyone knows or cares what that is, but so his house is a Poke Gym or something. I'm not the best player of Pokemon Go. I should say that. So he has all these strangers lurking at his house at all hours of the day, and his neighbors are all pissed off at him because there's strangers all over in their neighborhood, right? It doesn't seem especially safe. And he had no idea how to report this, that it's a house, not a church anymore, not a public place. Then there's this other young entrepreneur who found that she had a Pokestop right near her home, and she decided to capitalize on that by selling.
She makes like $200 US a day.
Yeah.
Well, she's probably back in school now, so she's out of business.
So she has drinks and foods that are the colors of the different Pokemon teams. parents, this is a great story. You can get the deck from us later, but it's about how a boy, an autistic boy who had trouble interacting with people out in public, he really liked Pokemon, and he wanted to play the app, and everyone else was out heads down looking at their phone, and he was able to approach people and say, I love Charizard too, or whatever, I'm not really sure, but it's a great story. So parents, from the point of view of the parent. Business owners, they just struck a big deal with McDonald's. The creators of Pokemon Go did, and now in Japan, McDonald's are like poke gyms or stops or something like that. You catch a lot of Pokemon at McDonald's. And then now we just added one. We have done this workshop before, but we just added this customer because of recent events. So the jaded customer, the person who stopped using Pokemon Go, and I think this gentleman right here in the front is one of them, said, all you can do is catch Pokemon. He's obviously quite bored with the game already. And there are others, and I don't know if you can see the chart. I think I put in, no.
I took it out, sorry.
Oh. Hey, come on. There's a chart that's showing that the usage is going down because they did have more daily users than Twitter or something like that. Anyway. Then there's a horrible quote from Bloomberg that's pretty damning. Okay, so now you need to decide which customer you are interested in at your little table, at your pod. This isn't a life or death choice. I would advise that you just pick one.
If you notice at your table, there's some articles and memes and stuff that might help influence what group you pick, what customer group.
So just take like 20, 30 seconds to decide which customer group you're interested in.
Some of them might inspire you to make a new group.
Are you doing your phone?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I just have to watch.
Giving them a minute. Is that? Yeah. Okay, everybody, that's it. Time's up. I hope you picked a group.
Okay, so now that you have your customer, if you don't, somebody needs to make an executive decision. It's not life or death. Now we're going to actually launch into our really brief experience with an empathy map, okay? So what is an empathy map? Well, it's basically an activity. You should probably do this as a team, right? Because we are creating a shared understanding of what we believe to be true about our customer, right? So we're going to try to feel the same things, have empathy with our customer, right? So like I said, they're going to create a shared understanding on your team of what you know or what you think you know about your customer. And there are different ways to approach this, right? Like you could do this before you know much about your customer, and it could be guesses that you validate later through experimentation or interviews or whatever the case may be. Or perhaps you're more informed already, you have some information. But It's about a specific customer. So you're going to name your customer Joe or Judy or Bob or whatever the case may be. And then we are going to examine Pokemon Go through the eyes of Joe or Judy or Bob or whoever the person is. So this will make more sense once we actually get into what the MP map is and how we do it. So identify the best visual artist at your table. Again, not a life or death decision. If it's ugly, you don't have to show it to anyone. But one person needs to draw this on your sheet of paper. So it's a head in the middle, right? And then basically like this with a little strip at the bottom. If you can't see it, pop up, yep, on the big piece of paper in the middle of your table. So it's supposed to be a human head. On the side,
That's an ear. It's a poorly drawn little figure.
American ear. Yes, that's a big one. Wow, nicely done. Yeah, so at the bottom you just see like a strip section. Oh, they're all idiots.
Is that a little better? The ear here. This slide might be better. We can adjust it.
I think you can free. I'm just going to take all these to the beach afterwards and burn them.
Nice. See, I couldn't figure out how to draw hair on him on Illustrator. I'm a beginner.
Okay, so now that everyone has this face,
All right, everybody. It looks like you've all drawn them.
you're some meek little girl. You have to be quiet when I'm talking. Okay, so now we're going to give our customer this really beautiful stick figure head here thing person that you drew. Give your customer a name, please. And from here on out, we are not saying customer, we are saying the name that you just chose. Okay? Do that. Does everyone have a name? Yeah? Everyone have a name?
Alrighty.
Now we're going to take 5 minutes to silently brainstorm. So each one of these has a little title on it, right? And you'll see that they roughly line up. Say is lined up with the mouth. See is kind of lined up with the eyes. Think, feel, lined up with the brain. Hear, lined up with the ears. And then we have pains and gains at the bottom. In a second, I'm going to show you some prompting questions to fill in those fields, but we're going to take 5 minutes to brainstorm things that your customer, Bob, Sally, Sue, whatever, thinks, hears, sees, says, also the pains that they experience, and the gains, the big wins, right? Is everyone clear on that? We're just going to silently brainstorm. You write down what you think your customer. So if your customer is a business owner and their name is Sally, then you say Sally sees people turning away because she doesn't accept American Express or something like that, right? Things that they see, things that she hears. She hears that people are playing Pokemon Go in her store because she has a Pokestop or something. Okay?
Try to write at least 2 for each section. So everybody write at least 2 Post-it notes.
These are some prompting questions to fill in each section. So for, yes?
Is each one to do with Pokemon? Or is it just...
Yeah, so tell your customer what they're seeing and doing and feeling in the environment that is Pokemon Go, right? So if anyone has questions, if you can raise your hand or somehow indicate to me that you're stuck, we're going to start the timer for 5 minutes for you to write down Post-it notes, put them in. Yes, sir.
How secret do we keep them? Do we stick them on the drawing?
Yeah, you can put them on the drawing in real time. It's just that we're not going to read them aloud or discuss them as we put them on there. Yes. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, like a painting is that, yep. So a painting is that my yard's always messed up.
So we decided...
You're all, this is all one person that you're focusing on. Yep. Hopefully you gave him a name. Tom. Yep. So all in the frame of Pokemon Go.
She's changed the name now.
So just put out as many ideas as you can. There are no bad ideas. We're just going for a wide breadth,
Exactly. How are they
especially with this
experiencing the app?
exercise, because
How is it
we
affecting
want to
them in
have a lot
any
of
way? So,
examples.
what group did you guys pick?
Jaded.
Jaded customers, yeah. So, yep.
Just their perceptions or what they like.
All of their reactions, yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah, that's so true. I've evolved so many of them just to get XP, but it gets boring after a while. It's like,
And the top one, if you can't read it, it says, what preoccupies her and what are her daydreams? Those are some good prompting questions for think and feel. No.
oh, the index, yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, we can hand out index cards. 1 minute left.
Whoa.
All right, time is up.
Okay, so this says individually discuss. That's because today you're going to do this individually, but normally what we would do is have a discussion. But like I said, 45 minutes doesn't give me a lot of time. So at this point with your team, what you would be doing, you'd have disagreements, right? There would be people who think that the customer sees two different things, or does two different things, or feels two different things, right? They're in direct opposition. Or perhaps all of the answers are just really vague. But if you have folks who are creating a product or something that contributes to a brand, and the people who are creating that product or experience have two very different ideas about some interaction point, you have an issue. Because we work in knowledge work, right? Everyone here is a knowledge worker. That's why you're at this conference. Your work is done in your brain. So your whole job, essentially, is to make decisions. If you have a different context than the other folks on your team, when you're making even small decisions, it's going to lead to a weird, messed up product or a weird, messed up experience, right? Because we're using a different filter as we make the decisions. So this empathy map should surface those disagreements or just areas where you clearly don't know enough about your customer. Okay? So we're going to, I saw everyone reading through their empathy map, and I'm curious if any themes came out. Yes, nod if you saw some themes across your empathy map. And as you're reading through your empathy map, we don't have a lot of time for discussion. We're going to take an exciting theme.
We don't have enough time for it. We'll give them like a minute, whatever. They have the index cards. How many people raised their hands when you asked about empathy maps? 10 people. So that means a majority at least are getting something out of this. Okay, everybody, you should have observed some themes. We're moving on. Let me get your attention, everybody. We need to keep moving. Your attention. You should have index cards. Everybody at your table should take an index card. You're going to create a problem statement. Your problem statement should be explicit about who the customer is. Kind of already did that. What is the problem? Why is the problem worth solving? And where and when does the problem occur? So this is individually. Take a theme, whatever you observed, and do your own problem statement.
We're picking a problem or an opportunity or an area of vagueness or something to explore with the A3. So based on those themes that you observed in your empathy map, you're going to write down some completely made up bullshit, problem, or opportunity, right? That's just what we're doing here. These are the things it should contain.
How much time are we allowed to go a little over? I don't.
I think we should only go through individually. The rest of it not going to do and choose a problem statement and move the three
Okay.
and then they write their own hypothesis. And
Okay.
and do this.
But then we have to get the room set back up.
So just who is the customer? Bob, Sally, Joe, Sue, business owner, parent, whatever. What is the problem? A lot of people walking on their lawn. Why is the problem we're solving? Because they keep having to call the landscapers. It costs them a lot of money. Where, when does the problem occur? It occurs on the lawn at night when there's no one there to shout at these people. You can use that one. I will give that to you for free if you're stuck. So the one other thing about a problem statement, it shouldn't include a solution. So the example that you hear tons of people use is, I don't have a glass of water is not a problem. I am dehydrated is a problem.
All right, so normally what we would do is you guys would all kind of discuss your problem statements and pick one for your team. We don't really have enough time, so we're just going to have you kind of carry your problem along. But so we've created this story about a customer. We've targeted a specific problem. And really we've thrown out assumptions and some inferences based on if you had articles or some kind of evidence. Nice. So now we're going to tie this into the what's called PDSA and A3 problem-solving approach. So we're going to work in a scientific manner to try to solve this problem that we've targeted. Okay, what button do I?
But
Nope,
down
wrong
button.
one. So A3, I think most of you probably know it as a size of paper, but it's a tool, but it's also a process. It's also a way of thinking. It's based on the scientific method. So it's something I really like because I'm a former science teacher. But it's a communication tool for workers to report problems and suggestions to managers. Because it's limited to the A3 size, it's a really pretty easy communication tool. But it also, you're not giving somebody a huge PowerPoint or some kind of document for them to read through. So it forces conversations as well. And it just provides this adaptable framework. It's not a very strict framework. As you'll see, you can kind of modify it as you go. And it leads to this structured, scientific, and disciplined approach for effective problem solving. So there was a picture of an old white guy here. I got rid of him. We always, at Praxis Flow, we always tend to have too many old white guys. But this PDSA, which is Plan, Do, Study, Act, it's this problem-solving framework. And so it was created, it really comes from Toyota. Edward Deming kind of took it from Schuards, a bunch of white guys and some Japanese guys. And so basically, if you look at it, it's very similar to the scientific method. You're going to identify a problem and what needs to be changed. The doing part is actually implementing the change. Study is you're going to actually measure, analyze what you changed. Was it effective? Did it work? Did it fail? Did it validate your hypothesis? And then you're going to act if the results are not as hoped for. So are you going to amplify what happened, or are you going to kind of mitigate the results? And so here's just a little graphic that I really like because it shows the scientific method, and the problem solving, A3 thinking is there in the center. Kaizen is the improvement kata from Toyota. They all kind of follow the same path.
We can send out these slides too, so
Yeah.
if you don't get a picture, just come up to us and we'll send you the
There's also
slides.
like the titles are cut off, and they're actually kind of good information. Like
They are so
it's the
fancy.
mindset design that pattern that matters. Like it's the mindset that matters.
We worked really hard on the titles.
I know, really hard. And there's Pokeballs that are. I worked so hard on designing this. Okay, I can't figure out this, but okay. So here's the A3 layout. This is what we use at Praxis Flow. This isn't like something that can be that's set. It can change depending on your context. This is the one we've come up with. And frankly, in some ways, I'd like to change this as well. Background, current situation, analysis, hypothesis. You've got experiment, measurement, outcome, next steps. But the most important thing is, yeah, you can change kind of the titles of the boxes and stuff like that, but it has to follow PDSA. So in ours, we have on the left-hand side, all of the plan of PDSA is there. Then we have the do, which is the experiment, measurement, and study and act. Okay. Now this is where you should all have an A3, but I didn't hand them out to you. So I think on the back of your index card, you can kind of make a little tiny A3.
You're gonna have to write.
We didn't have enough, we
more
didn't-
things,
yeah.
So you can use the back of your index card. But if you would like one of these templates, again, we have some printed off, and we can definitely email you this template as well.
Or you can steal one like she did over there. So, okay. All right, so the background box is the context and the customer of your problem statement. So you made that little problem statement, so that's where you would put the who and the where, when. You're describing the background. You're providing as much information that you can to whoever needs to read this, a mentor, a coach, a manager. And so the current situation is the problem, the situation, so it would be the why and the what of your problem statement that you created. In a lot of cases, this isn't even written. This could be a diagram of the current situation and where and when it happens. The key here is that you must go to the Gemba. You go to where the work is actually being done. You have to observe the current situation. You can't just assume it. So now you can just kind of pop in basically your problem statement would go right there.
Are we supposed to be combining all of ours?
So we would do that, right? But we've spent all this time spreading out the tables. So imagine that. Go through that in your head, okay?
Just imagine this is a way better, more interactive thing that you guys were doing.
Yeah, so you as a team would pick one problem statement to identify or to explore further. Okay, but we are not going to do that because we have such a limited time left unless you just want to sacrifice your whole break, but I doubt you want to do that.
We have 2 minutes.
Yeah. So, we have to get through one more major thing at least.
Okay. This would be the analysis. Okay. See, without the titles, I'm like lost. So any data that's going to support the current condition, so basically an analysis of the problem, we want to kind of get to the root of the problem. So 5 whys fishbone are kind of ways we can find root causes. In the case, in our example here today, we're kind of using You've used articles, memes, kind of, it's almost like we talked to customers and got their ideas about problems and stuff. So that would probably that would be the evidence that we have to put in analysis. Yep. So, yeah, so we can't do this, but normally you would, as a team, you'd pretty much grab whatever data you use, stickies, whatever you had on there, and put them in the analysis area. So just evidence that supports the problem, the current context, current situation. And then a hypothesis. So, which looks like it's spelled wrong. So basically, this is what you believe is going to happen. It's an inference. I hate when people say a guess or an educated guess. It's an inference based on the cause of the problem, based on your analysis, and it has to be falsifiable. So if I make this change, it's going to affect this. You know, I think it's going to do this.
Like Rebecca in her keynote said, you can't just say, I think if I do this, we will improve, right? You don't know whether that's true or false at the end.
Very true. So, it has to be measurable. Okay, so you would write a hypothesis statement. Should we have them do it?
I think we should.
We can go a little
This is
over
like the
time.
last thing that is really important.
Yes.
It's really important to have a good hypothesis.
So on your index card now, you could actually write this. This is the hypothesis statement that we use. It's we believe that doing this action or this countermeasure for these people, this process, will achieve this measurable outcome. So it has to be some kind of specific measurable outcome. And when it fails or succeeds, we have some kind of either amplification plan, if it was successful, or we have to be able to recover from it.
So if this is sedation, this is not sedation.
It's something that you think you can try, so potentially, yes. So in the grass example, I can say we'll have a hotline where people can call and we'll send them a fence. Nice, safe to fail experiment, right?
Yeah,
Big investment in white picket fences.
Yeah. Yeah, if hopefully it's a safe to fail experiment, you could just not do the thing you did anymore. But if it's something a little, you might have to have a recovery strategy. So at Toyota, they drill this whole process into their people. They use, this is similar, this A3. They use slightly different setup, but it's called the improvement kata. Everybody is supposed to make a daily improvement. So every day they're making these. But it's not enough for just to scribble into this. They have coaches that are also helping them. So you have a mentee coaching relationship. Okay. So you have a hypothesis. Basically, you've come up with something that you want to change. So we're not going to do this. Probably not. Nope.
So that's all of the stuff included in the P part of PDSA, right? All of the planning. Now you would actually have to go to wherever you said where and when the problem happens. Try your hypothesis for some set amount of time, right? Whether it's I need to have this many number of transactions or I need to run for 3 months, something like that, right? So you know when it's over. And so all of this stuff on the right is when you are there at the site of the problem. You conduct the experiment, you measure, you observe an outcome, and then you try the next thing.
Yep, it's a cycle.
Would you have some kind of proof of concept to the actual users to have a go?
Yeah, so that's kind of the point of the, if it succeeds, we'll amplify it in this way just to really emphasize that it's going to be something small, right? Like a proof of concept or some safe to fail, right? And then we also have to have that recovery strategy. So big, huge things, it's impossible to come up with a recovery strategy. So that last part of the hypothesis is to enforce that we're limiting the scope of this experiment and making sure that it's something low risk, high information value. We're so out of time, but
So the other next box would be how would you measure it, and how do you know that your experiment is validated or your hypothesis, have you validated it or invalidated it? Kat likes to rant about the measurement part of it.
I don't rant.
Sure you do. You just have to make sure you're actually measuring something that, I can't even put it into words, like it has to be a measurement for the thing you're trying to change.
Come see me later if you want the rant.
Exactly. So the outcome would be you're just saying what happened to the system, what happened after your experiment, and so you want to compare this back to the hypothesis. If your experiment failed, that's not in science, that's actually a really good thing. We learn more through failure. So hopefully it was a safe to fail experiment. So it's all about learning. And then next steps. What do you do after this experiment? Where should you go from here? Basically, that just feeds back to the next A3. The next background, current situation, the whole thing repeats. Good.
Okay, we're massively out of time. I apologize for running over on Mike's stuff because it's more interesting, but I have such a quiet voice that normally people can't even hear me when I am talking, so I was so excited to have a quiet room. But I apologize. If you want more information, like I said, come get us. We'll email you the deck right here, right now, give you the A3 template, whatever. I guess we're really bad at sales, huh? We're just anyway. Thank you so much for joining us. It was very fun, and I can't believe there's so many people packed into this tiny room.
Yes. Thank you guys.